on to the third and final review of the week. On the block here is Jotun, not Jotun or any permutation thereof. It's a Viking name.
It's Old Norse. It's Norse for a specific group of mythological beings that are usually giants.
Right. And as that name entails, you play a Viking. You play a lady Viking, actually. Her name's Thora.
Mm-hmm.
Named because
named after Thor. Go figure.
Yeah. She. I don't think she's the literal daughter of Thor, but she has the blood of Thor running through her veins. Mm-hmm. It could be like a Heracles situation. Except for the fact that she is not a demigod of any kind. She is a typical Viking warrior, and she died at sea. And the game's premise is you are fighting through the Norse underworld in order to get to Valhalla, Norse heaven, basically. Mm-hmm. And you're getting you have to do this because you drowned at sea instead of dying in glorious battle. But
which not exactly how the Norse afterwar life works, but close enough.
I'm it's like it'll work for a video game.
This game is surprisingly detailed. When you gain one of the powers from one of the gods, they give you a description of the god, which is so far has always been accurate. The narration of the game is in Norse. I don't know where it is on the scale between Old Norse and Modern Norwegian, but it's in Norse, and that has been correct to my ear.
Yeah. It's not Norwegian. It's Icelandic.
It is okay, which is Icelandic. Current modern Icelandic is very close to Old Norse. So yeah.
It's when people think of Vikings, they immediately think of Norway. But the Vikings did migrate to various places, Iceland being one of them.
Oh yeah, they traveled all over the place. It's just, and Iceland had fairly little cultural contact, so the language there didn't change much.
Right, and Icelandic is a very interesting language. And I suppose if we ever had time and a different show, we would talk about how fucking difficult it is to learn Icelandic. Fortunately, you don't have to worry. Nobody has to worry about dealing with that language here because while it's all spoken in that language, it's got English subtitles.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no. Actually, it does not have English subtitles. It has subtitles in English or any of your choice of about 7 other languages.
Right. You know what I mean?
It had what? French, Spanish, Italian, German, Icelandic,
Japanese,
Chinese.
It's actually good to make that distinction because some games only come with English subtitles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It helps that this comes from a European developer, Thunder Lotus Games. They're more prone to have multi-language subtitles or dubs or what have you because there's a lot more major languages to deal with. With that being said, this game is going for a very authentic Norse culture deal. None of that theme park version stuff here.
Like what we get a lot in our culture.
At the very least, it's a well-researched theme park.
Right. It's not going to be, the entire story or even some epic dealing with Ragnarok.
This is a very, very personal. I mean, you're still trying to prove your worth to the gods by killing giant giants that are like literally you come up to like their ankles, maybe.
Yeah,
Being
and you are.
generous.
And I suppose it's worth noting that the reason why you're seeing trailer footage here is we were. This is actually the rare game that we weren't given. This was free on Steam not too long ago, in celebration of the release of their latest game, Sundered.
Yeah.
Sundered, however you pronounce that.
No. I was trying to remember. I almost got Sundered and Severed mixed up again.
Yeah, I'm like, that's gonna. Even though those games are very different.
Yeah. In fairness, the names both mean broken.
It's not the most inexplicable confusion you've ever made.
Mm.
Won't be the last, I can assure you.
No. But I'm like, anyway, so the game itself is a top-down adventure game, a Zelda-like, if you will, sort of, because I'm like, it's not
the
really.
emphasis is very much on navigating the area and spectacle, and then on boss fights. There are like horde fights, but they're not hard, and almost everything dies in one hit.
I'm like, really, there aren't that many mook kind of enemies in the game. Like, your bigger challenges are like environmental dangers.
Yep.
More than anything else. And yeah, the real combat foci were on the boss battles.
Of which there are 9 stage bosses, and then presumably final boss type stuff.
No, there are 5 stage bosses.
Oh, right, the five stage. Sorry, there are 9 stages.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, like, yeah. The structure is, well, outside of the initial area, is like each rune. You got to unlock 5 runes in order to get to the Allfather. And doing that requires you going through 2 areas that represent different parts of the Norse mythos.
Yeah, there are 9 different areas you go to, and from what I saw, I think there is approximately 1 in each of the 9 worlds of Norse mythology, except there's nothing in Gimle because Gimle didn't exist yet, probably.
Right. And so there's no getting around this. This game is kind of limited in what you can do. That's why using Zelda isn't a good comparison because, well, all you can really do is attack with your axe. You got a light attack, you got a heavy attack, and you got a dodge roll.
The light and heavy attacks are both. Like, the light attack in this is as slow as the heavy attack is in some games.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll be honest, that was my big problem with this game. It's slow.
Yeah, the heavy attack takes like an entire second.
Yeah, it's like you're going to feel the slowness.
Mm-hmm. So when you're fighting a lot of enemies, you're either going to want to, well, in one of the, obviously you can approach the stages after the first one in any order, but one of the stages there's a power up you get that's Loki's power up where you can drop basically a decoy of yourself that then explodes and can take out a huge number of things. Collecting power-ups wipes out any enemies near it.
Right. You do get god powers throughout the game. It's one of the few things you can find in a level. Like, each level has, outside of the basic objective, has a, what do they call the fruits?
The golden apples of youth from the goddess Idun.
Yeah, Ithun's apples, which give you more life. And then there are the god shrines, or the goddess shrines, depending. You get,
other than that, the main thing to find is there's a Mimir spring, I think, in every level where you can get healing once. And then there's...
save your game.
Right. And then there are also usually some black stone hexagon things that you can whack to activate something, or
That was only one level, actually.
yeah. Well, they do the elevators in that one too. Are there none of them outside of that side of the pentagram? Oh,
Yeah, I'm like, I'll be honest.
Just that area.
Yeah, there's not a lot to this game, honestly.
No.
I'm like, it's sort of the unintentional theme of our reviews. Like, you know, each one of the games we've tackled, I'm like, are pretty simple games, in like their respective genres.
this
Like,
one is freaking gorgeous, though.
yeah, I'm like,
There's at least one screen in each world that is dedicated specifically to, oh hey, you're just moving along the bottom or the top of the screen here. You should probably be looking at the background where there's an enormous like image of just Nidhogger chewing on roots, or there's an enormous view of Yggdrasil, or
yeah, I'm like, oh hey, there's the nameless raven.
yeah.
Yeah,
Name so
that's
because
little-
it didn't have a name?
Yes, he's got a smaller raven that has a name that I can't remember right now.
They're their full name. They're eagles, not ravens.
Yeah, in this game, they were like ravens or crows.
Oh.
So
Wait, is this the one in Helheim or the one in Asgard?
not remembering offhand. But yeah, this game is entirely hand drawn. I'm like, and yeah, it looks good for the most part. I'm gonna say that some of the boss animation was pretty jank.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Which it's really noticeable because the bosses are, in the average boss fight, the
Mhm.
boss will be taking up upwards of 50% of the screen.
and the boss battles are very epic.
Mhm.
Probably go on for a little too long in my estimation, especially if you're trying to not use the god powers. Oh God. It's like
Is there a penalty for using the god powers?
you don't get an achievement.
Mm.
There's a literal achievement for not using the god powers. But I'm like, I wouldn't
Yeah, I
advise
would recommend not going for that on your first playthrough or until you were really good.
It's not even that. It's using the axe to whittle down health takes for fucking ever. And
Well,
Yeah.
what I found is the bosses are huge.
Mhm.
That leaves you with two advantages. One, they telegraph most things they do to a degree that would be ridiculous if, they weren't so huge.
Oh,
They're kind of slow. And actually, because of their size, some of them have areas that they can't hit very well, surprisingly close to them.
that works well enough at the beginning phases. But,
Yeah.
Bosses do get harder about 2 or 3 times during the fight.
Oh, when you get to the end phases, good luck trying to do that shit because you're dealing with so much other, like lightning or dwarves or some such obstacle.
Snowstorms.
Mhm.
Yeah, the first boss is pretty easy because all she does is she summons
Yeah.
vines and poison gas.
Jera.
Yeah, and gives plenty of time for you to run up and even use your heavy attack to try to cut her stomach open so you can get at her core.
Yeah. Yeah. She's the only one I got that achievement on. And that was mainly because I didn't find any of the god powers yet. Like,
Well, the one you get in her area is healing, which is, nice.
yes. By far the most useful of the god powers. Like, but trying to get that achievement on some of the bosses, just not worth it.
Well, there are also achievements for beating the bosses in extremely short amounts of time and for beating them without getting hit. So,
Or using a fancy way to kill them, like the ice boss, using the icebergs.
Yeah.
That's really fucking hard.
Or the golem giants. You drop the pillars on them.
Like, and yeah, so the game isn't very long. Like, took me about 10 hours.
And honestly, a surprising amount of the time is spent just walking. Because you're looking around the areas trying to find stuff, and the areas are very large. They are giant scale mostly. You don't move that fast.
No, like I said, oh god, mobility is fucking limited as hell. Like, and
yeah, the combat and the movement is very deliberate.
And you know, I can't say I really enjoyed that, especially since I'm kind of used to these games being faster paced.
Yeah, this is a game that there are a lot of games that are in this general style lately, but they're things like Hyper Light Drifter, where it's all about super fast moving and perfect dodging, and this is a very, I mean, you're a large Viking woman with a big ass double-headed axe, and you feel like it.
Oh yeah. Especially if you have a rumble feature, you'll feel the impact.
Oh yeah, when I activated this game, it gives me an option to load the game in like 3D 9C or something. You know what that is, Petty Fan? Or Adam?
Oh, DirectX 9, I believe.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this game's been out for a couple of years now. I suppose depending on the system. As it is, it came out on computer platforms in 2015 and hit consoles, including the Wii U in 2016. In fact, I remember this was one of the games that Nintendo was pushing last fall. And the game also got a substantial update, as technically the game is now called Jotun Valhalla Edition. Now, what the Valhalla Edition is actually kind of lame. It's a boss rush mode. Yeah.
I guess that's good for if you want to try to get those achievements for beating the bosses in certain ways. Like without getting hit, or
if you want the extra challenge. But I'm like, it's just a boss rush mode, and that's it. I'm not sure why that was added later. I'm like, but it was. Like the music, is very epic, very drum, horns, war scale kind of deal. At least with the fights, it has its more intimate moments, when you're just going through the levels. And unlike the other games we featured this week, its soundtrack is available. It's standard soundtrack pricing, $10. And speaking of pricing, that gets into one of my biggest caveats with the game. It's overpriced. Normal price is $15.
Yeah, it's a little short for that, even though it is very good looking.
Yeah. I'm like, I would recommend more the sale price I've seen is like $7.50. Easy recommended at that price. $10 at most. $15 is a little hard because it's it's a bit thin on contents and really things to do.
Yeah, I found myself wishing there were more ways to interact with the environment, even if it was just like breaking rocks or cutting down bushes or something.
Like
I mean, I feel like the intent is for you to be like just taking in the environment while you're walking around, but still, I kind of wish there was stuff to do.
I think that's the Zelda affectations talking.
Hmm.
Like, it's kind of used to this style of game having, hidden secrets and, pots to break and.
Yeah. The only thing you have in this game for a hidden secret is sometimes it's a little tricky to figure out how to get the apple. Like in Nidavellir, which is the home of the dwarves / dark elves, you're at the forge of Brock, who is Brocker, one of the he's from one of the dwarves that was involved in the whole contest that led to the forging of Thor's hammer. So there's a whole bunch of buildings and stuff, and there are like a couple of places where you could break walls, and you have to activate the stone things that I was talking about to make bridges appear and stuff to make a bridge appear to get to the golden apple, and that's about it for puzzles. Technically, it's possible to miss the god shrines too, because sometimes that's another thing that's weird in this game. The view is isometric but not grid based. And sometimes that leads to some weird stuff because, like, you can get way further behind a building than it feels like you ought to be able to. Have you guys noticed? Did you guys notice that?
Not really, but
Yeah, me
Like,
neither, really.
like there are a lot of areas where you can go behind the scenery and just you can still see yourself in silhouette while you're walking under the trees or or next or behind the building.
Yeah, occasionally I saw that.
Yeah, well, I was exploring around trying to find stuff that I thought I had missed, and like to get the Loki power in Rocker's Forge, you have to go through a mine tunnel where for like several screens you can't actually see your character aside from the silhouette. Like screen widths, not like actual transitions.
I noticed that a few times.
I know it struck me as weird because I always found like the areas that you can actually walk on are not always what they look like they are, because there are things that look like they're blocked off that you can go under.
Another issue with this game is its map. Like,
yeah,
It can be misleading sometimes.
like, there's no mini map, but if you pause, you get a map that shows the lay of the land, and it doesn't show where you are.
Yeah, it doesn't show where you are, and it's kind of a very vague overview of the shape of the area. It doesn't necessarily accurately show how the different parts of the area are connected.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure why this is. Like, why would you not want to annotate your location on the map?
I don't know, I guess making you think about it more, but it is one of those things that I don't think the amount you gain in making people think about where they are and make it hard to figure out is not usually going to be worth for a developer. It's not usually going to be worth the amount of people that get annoyed by it or have a hard time figuring out where stuff is.
I suppose. Like, anything else we need to cover?
I know. I really enjoyed it, and I liked the fact that it generally seemed really well researched, and it doesn't seem like it's just for the heck. Like they even like it's very immersive in the feeling of Viking stuff, and like I said, then the background art, especially in some areas, is really gorgeous.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've enjoyed exploring and such, but there were, as said earlier, mobility could stand to be better because how often you might find yourself backtracking.
I think my big problem with the game was it's just a little too limited in its scope. Like, and too much focus was thrown around the boss fights. Um, like actually going through the levels felt tacked on. Like,
Yeah, if I was going to add to this game, I don't think I would add more levels or anything. I would just put more smaller things in the levels in between going in there and getting to the rune you need. You know?
Yeah, I know. Like, all right. Anything else we need to cover?
I guess not.
I think we've said most of the stuff, doesn't it? I can't think of anything I haven't said yet.
No, I think we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I suppose in terms of scoring, 6 out of 10. Like,
I'd go a little higher than that, but I think that's because I was really captivated by the aesthetic.
I guess a 6.5. I'm like, yeah, I like the art, but I couldn't get past some of just how god awful some of the animation looked. Like, to the point of distraction.
I turned the quality down, so maybe I didn't notice it as much because it was smoother at the lower quality. I don't know.
And I guess we should mention for people who are new, we're not like IGN where anything below a 7 is trash. It's above a 5 is above average.
Yeah. Not that these numbers mean all that much.
Yeah. But I mean, there are some people who are used to IGN's numbering, which is like, 7 or below, it's like the worst game ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a game to play, it could be better, but it's very pretty to look at.
This is true.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, yeah, I think that'll about do it for Jotun. And indeed, that'll about do it for our review session this week. In the week ahead, MSP returns.
Yay!
Season 13.
And
Yes,
and I also have the guest who we're opening with. They
go
just
ahead.
confirmed it is Ed Greenwood.
Oh boys.
So yeah, Golix and Adam are gonna have fun with that one.
Yeah, you might want to give a bit of backstory on who that is.
Is it Forgotten Realms or Forsaken Realms?
Forgotten Realms.
Forgotten Realms, yeah. He's the brain. He's the brains behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has a new book he's going to be talking about. Let me bring that up real quick. It is Storm Talons, I believe, is the name of the new book he has coming out. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that.
As far as Fragments of Silicon goes, on Tuesday, August 15th, we'll be having Sebastian Mittag of Studio Fizbin, developers of the Inner World series of adventure games. We reviewed the first one some months back. They're working on the sequel. And this is kind of adventure game week because on Wednesday, August 16th, we will be having Francisco Gonzalez of Runeslav Games. He worked on some Wajidai titles, including last year's, Shardlight.
Which was very good, and you should play it.
And he also did a game called The Golden Wake. Admittedly, I have not played that one. It's like, kind of forgot to. He's currently working on a game called Lamplight City. It's late Victorian steampunk kind of deal. Like, it's a detective adventure set in an alternate steampunkish Victorian past. So kind of like Sherlock Holmes, but with the serial numbers filed off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it says it's inspired by the works of Edgar Allan Poe and Charles Dickens. Like, I should also note that Sherlock Holmes himself was inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. And 5 cases to solve. It kind of reminds me of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, being honest. So more on that on Wednesday. And yeah, hopefully you will tune in for all our programming and you will enjoy it. Until Tuesday, I wish you good gaming.